Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we're talking with two amazing Blackfeet artists about an exhibit currently on display at Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art. We'll hear the stories behind the exhibit, the meaning and significance, and more about their work.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth,
And we're No Damn Experts. Happy December.
Yes, happy Friday.
Yeah, That's right.
All the things.
Shannon, what's happening today?
I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to our conversation here because I've had the opportunity to speak with both of these gentlemen in a different setting than this, which is why I invited them in, because they have their wonderful talents, wonderful storytellers in multiple capacities.
I may fangirl a little bit. You've talked to them before,
I
but
have.
I've only, admired them from a distance.
Yeah.
Not in a creepy way. Just
They don't
from a
look like they
distance.
believe you. It wasn't
They're
creepy.
like, there was
Okay.
that woman outside
Yeah.
my window that one night. That was
I remember
weird.
her. Yeah. We were talking with two wonderful artists today. We're focusing on kind of one exhibit, but they've been part of a lot of things that we'll chat about. So we have John Isaiah Pepion and Louis Still Smoking in studio with us. Welcome.
Woo woo!
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Glad to be.
So glad you guys are
Yeah.
here. You don't live in our fine city, correct?
No, we reside up north. And
Yeah. In the beautiful lands right at the base of the mountains.
Absolutely gorgeous. They are both members of the Blackfeet tribe, correct? Blackfeet artists.
Yes.
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 Tell us a little bit, for people who aren't from here, what it means to be part of that tribe, where that tribe is, a little history about your tribe.
And yourselves.
Yes.
Don't fight to see who goes first.
Well, the Blackfeet Nation, we reside up by the Canadian border, and we've pretty much spent our whole lives there. I've actually moved away for a few years, but I've recently moved back in the last 3 years.
Oh.
Okay. Nice. Where were you before that?
My wife's from South Dakota.
Okay.
So we lived
Ooh.
in South Dakota, and my boys went to school there.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there for 10 years, moved back, went to school at MSU in Bozeman,
Ooh, the good school.
and then I moved back again.
Yeah.
And then my last move was, back to Browning. But it seems like no matter where you go, you always have that it's almost like an image of the mountains in your mind when you're somewhere else, a different state. And of course, with South Dakota, it's really flat.
Yeah.
So you always have that image in the back of your mind. You just miss those mountains, and I think that's kind of one of the main reasons why I came back and be around family.
Oh. And what about you, John?
From a community called Birch Creek, so it's in a countryside, pretty peaceful. View of the mountains. From the Blackfeet tribe, which we are also part of the Blackfoot Confederacy, and Great Falls is Blackfoot territory.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And since you're talking about MSU being the best school, what about that beating?
Ooh, bringing up a sore subject there, John.
Every other year is a different year, is it not? Because last year wasn't pretty for the Grizz. But I will say, trying to win in Washington Grizzly Stadium it's no easy feat.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done it before, but it's no easy feat. And so I'm super excited for playoffs because both the teams are in it. And obviously a little bit distracted because playoff games are this weekend as well. So
Yes.
both teams.
There you go. It's the Cat Grizz rivalry for all of you not Montanans listening.
It's so epic
Yeah.
and awesome. I love it. So have you both been artists like all of your life, or was it something later that you're like, hey, maybe I'll try drawing and see what happens?
For the most part, I've been an artist most of my life. It was pretty much a natural kind of element to my personality. I'm very visual, and growing up in a rural setting, you really have to have your imagination, and not just like, painting or drawing. Like sometimes you have to make your own toys and like,
Yep.
usually a gun would be like a stick with like a hand.
There you go. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's like you really have to use your imagination, and I think it's always been part of me. But I think professionally, I would say probably about 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every time I think I'm an artist, I try it and I'm like, oh nope, still not have
Still
that
didn't
ability.
happen.
How about you?
I've been an artist all my life. Like to draw, but wasn't really like pursuing it, and started pursuing it in 2009, and just been a learning experience ever since.
Now, John, you exhibit during Western Art Week. I stock your booth every year. And you started adding so many other kind of elements to your, I'm going to call it the real art. And I know it's all real art, but like the cloth stuff that, pillows and socks and those type of things, which are an artistic form. But I sometimes think of real art as the stuff you actually do with your hands. So
I'm glad you know how to respond. I don't know where she was going.
John's like, I'm just going to answer this the way I want to.
When I started coming to Western Art Week, I started bringing different things there. And last year, I brought skateboards and other things that wasn't normal, especially for the so-called Western, and some imagery that wasn't quite Western. But I'm glad that they still allowed me to be part of the show. But what you're talking about, as an artist, I've also learned to do e-commerce.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because not everybody can afford originals, especially in my community. So I got stickers, socks, coffee mugs, prints, and all that for people who want to buy worldwide. I do all the shipping myself. It's growing. So hopefully it turns into a store.
Yeah.
But when I do art markets or shows, it's all original art. Sometimes maybe I might throw in some earrings or something.
Yeah. It's all his art, folks. You can check out his stuff online.
Yes.
But it's not like he grabbed the mug and painted it. He created the artwork that is on the mug. That's what I meant by real. I will misstep 100 more times and use false information the entire podcast. So welcome to the show. So then, do you do exhibits at all, like Western Art Week or gallery openings or things like that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think, I've been pushing it, like working a lot more since I've moved here. So I'm still kind of getting into doing a lot more exhibitions and doing shows, and but like I've only really been full-time for about 3 years. So I'm just kind of getting going and trying to do a lot of public works, trying to get that community engagement, and really just kind of focusing on my craft and excelling my skills in painting and drawing. And I'm hopefully in the future I want to do sculptural pieces. And,
Ooh.
And then at the Paris Gibson, there are some sculptural pieces, but I want to get into bronze, maybe some stonework.
That's crazy to me. You said just like 3 years, because to me, your name, I feel like I've heard it forever in terms of art, like that you've been a well-known artist for much longer than that.
I don't have a good grasp of the space-time continuum, but it does feel like it's been longer than 3 years.
Well, you've probably been stalking John more than stalking me.
There you go.
Well, I think the first time I learned of your art was the project you guys collaborated on in Heartbutte at the school, the big mural there.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first one, because I have stalked John for a while. But I'm like, oh, what is going on? This is amazing. And so I read the whole article and looked at the pictures, and that was really a cool project. How did you, first, have you known each other for a while? And if not, how did you find each other to do that kind of a collaboration?
We're part of an art collective.
Okay.
And the members are from Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming. It's been about over 5 years as a collective, doing art shows, sharing our networks, and ideas, because a lot of us do different mediums.
Okay.
And so sometimes we'll show together. Sometimes we'll show just maybe with a couple, team up, or just a few here and there, whoever can do it at the time, the call. And then when it came to Art Butte, I started teaching there, and they wanted to do a mural. And they had me do a mural, a solo mural in the high school for the, at the time it was the history room. And so I did a mural there, acrylic on a rough surface. And they wanted a huge mural outside, and I had no clue. So I teamed up with Lewis, and we would just work through it. And it was a crazy project because it was through the pandemic, through a wildfire. And
That's right.
Sometimes we couldn't be there. Sometimes we could be there because of the fire smoke or because of the COVID cases at the time. So it was about I don't know.
So
Summer project. Maybe.
Yeah.
in addition to all those kind of issues getting it done, what were the issues or things you learned about such large format art? Because I've mentioned many times on this podcast, there's no artistic ability in me at all. I would start drawing something at a scale that seemed normal, and then once you got done, it'd be like a small, stone size compared to what it needed to be, like a boulder size picture. So what were some of the issues, concerns, things you learned in that process?
I say work smarter, work
Good advice.
faster.
Yeah.
Because me, I like to take my time. I'm a perfectionist and focus on like straight lines, and so I'm actually hand painting. And me personally, for my parts, it takes forever and slower than other people. I notice people that use spray paint, especially ones downtown, they're fast. And so when I worked here in the summer a couple of years ago, they were finishing in like 2 days. And me, I was still painting by hand in the sun. So it's been a learning process. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way, but me personally, as a painter that uses like acrylic and hand painting, it's got to be prepared and make sure you're ready for especially the elements or people, everything and anything.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn? Anything? Or was it just old hat?
Well, I'm an old fart, so I got a lot of notches in my belt. But I've been painting murals since, like 1999 was my first one. It was a private commission.
Okay.
Well, of course, the radiologist, he could afford to shell out,
There you go. Yeah. So you'll take any radiologist who want to hire you.
any radiologist who reach
Hey,
out
if
to
you've got a lot of money just sitting in your bank account,
Absolutely.
we got some artists who are willing to do something for you.
So that was a great opportunity, and it really kind of and I didn't have any formal training. I was basically taking the skills I learned or abilities in high school and then applied them early on in my career, and just drawing and just basically follow whatever the customers wanted. I would paint it.
It just seems scale would be
Well, it's kind of like
impossible.
If you can imagine the space, totally white, it's like you're projecting your thoughts in that space.
Okay.
So you're really relying on composition, detail, and really just trying to be creative in that space. So you have a lot of leeway to access things that you normally wouldn't be able to access on a smaller frame.
Okay.
So you really get to kind of be expressive, use colors you normally wouldn't be able to use, techniques you normally wouldn't be able to use.
Also, I just want to add, there's also different methods when it comes to scaling, of actually drawing maybe on a small piece of paper and then transforming that design onto a huge space. So you got to do a lot of prep work, and it's like I said, there's different methods. Learn from a lot of the artists that you work with throughout the times. So there's not right or wrong method to scaling or adding. And like Lewis said, it seems like when you're working on a mural, you have these plans and you mock-ups, but as you're working on it, you just kind of continue adding to it as you go.
And you two have worked together, or side by side is maybe the better way to put it, on mural as part of, we've talked here on this podcast about Arts Fest Montana and the murals that get added every year. And you two have both been part of those murals that are downtown. Tell us a little bit about what you painted and where those are, where people can find those.
I'll start out. I worked with Lewis a couple years ago, and it was behind the former Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a salon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it was a great experience. Kind of some rough texture. It was hot. It was a busy area. Area. A lot of busy people. It was a learning experience, and
was it nerve-wracking to have people just watch you?
It was crazy for me because I was teaching at the time, so I had to go back up sometimes and go back and go to training and come back and try to paint and stay or travel. It's been a crazy experience. So working on that mural and with Lewis on murals, it's been an experience with me because of time, because I was a full-time teacher at the time, and I just couldn't leave. And sometimes we had to take turns, different schedules. Sometimes he'd be there, sometimes I'd be there, or together, or try to figure something out. And it took longer than usual, but I formally resigned and have more time on my hands. Yeah. So different story now. So yeah.
Watch out for next year.
It really comes down to like adaptability. You know, kind of adapting to whether it's the budget or the time frame. So when you're doing large scale pieces, you really gotta work fast. But just being adaptable, whether it's time or access. Sometimes it's access. Like when we did the ones inside at Heart Butte, we'd have to have like a maintenance man, or it's.
They
like
didn't just give you the keys to the school.
Yeah, they don't just give you the security
That's
code.
Too bad. Yeah.
Well, I don't understand that at all.
Or sometimes, like even here, like organizing with Great Falls, our people to be there, our people to reach, and waiting for people, and it's all about adaptability, and accessibility too. Because when we worked at another space, we only had one key, and then sometimes when we'd go there, they wouldn't plan with us, and we'd go there and the space would be being used, so we couldn't paint with people in there. So you do learn to adapt in public spaces on these public projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first one you guys did was behind the old Perkins?
Here in Great Falls, and then
that's what I meant.
I haven't done any more, but Lewis could probably elaborate more. He did one on his own.
Yeah, it was well this summer I worked on the one. It's by the Real Deals.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The old
it's
Real
on
Deals.
The one way there.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I love that
I'll tell
building,
you what.
though.
There's no traffic over there.
That was a better situation for that. Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of car traffic, but not so much foot traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was pretty quiet, and for the most part, I was in the shade. But about high noon, it starts getting warm. But that was the other thing too. You have to be adaptable with the weather.
Yeah.
It can't be raining. If it's too hot, you got to take a break.
That's a lot. That's a lot of factors that maybe when you first start out as an artist, you're like, oh, I'll be, my own little contained environment, doing my work, my own.
What I've seen with a lot of these international artists coming here, these muralists and graffiti artists doing the work here at the Mural Fest here in Great Falls, is they're crazy. They'll sleep all day.
Oh, and then paint at night.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
No,
I've always been told if you're going to travel through the desert, that's the way to do it, is to sleep during the day and walk at night.
Mm-hmm.
Or they would work in the evenings as the sun would go down, at night or early in the morning, but they work fast with spray paint. Spray paint's way more faster, so I give them major props for their work that they do with spray paint.
So you paint with a brush in your hand as well, not a spray can?
No, it's a combination.
Okay.
All mixed. I'm trying to transition into just spray paint only, but it's kind of, I don't know. There's a.
That seems so different.
Yeah, well, I've known some of them are getting kind of tired of it, so they're going to switch back to hand painting.
Oh, wow.
Like with a brush or a roller.
Interesting.
Because the action of like spraying it, they start to get
giving
kind
like
of
carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yeah, starts getting tense and then cramping. But like I think with a brush, it's a little more fluid. You can use your wrist and probably better circulation. But
probably.
Yeah, we should bring in a safety, occupational health and safety person to really kind of look at the ergonomics of that.
There you go. Yeah.
John, what is it that you used to teach?
I was a high school art teacher.
Oh, okay.
In Browning?
No, Heart Butte.
Oh, in Heart Butte.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Nice. You also have done ledger art. as well. I know when I talked with you before, my aunt and uncle who live in California, who have come here to visit, bought one of your pieces a number of years ago now from the square. And so I'm excited
Woo.
because now I get multiple chances to talk with you and I get to tell them all about that. But like, guess what? I know him now. But they just
We're
love
friends.
right. No big deal. Tell people what ledger art is, what makes it special. I think it's such a dynamic, interesting piece to look at. But what is ledger art?
It's a form of like drawing amongst Plains Indian tribes that's kind of like its own genre now within indigenous art and the art world. It's kind of popular. I've noticed since I've been pursuing it full time that it has its up and downs. Like I see it like get popular, then I see it go down, and I see it get popular, go down. But I've been doing it all my life. We as Blackfoot people have been doing this kind of art, pictographic art, for centuries. You could see it on some of the older rock paintings around here that Lewis and Clark talked about. Those are Blackfoot pictographs. So the ledger art is based off of like pictographic style and winter counts that were painted on buffalo hides, and so it's an art form that's over 100 years old that's still continuing now. So had several periods, and the period we're in now is called contemporary ledger art, where men and women do it, and other tribes do it that ain't just Plains Indian. So you got like Cherokee and Navajo doing ledger art now. But I'm not just limited to ledger art. I do the pictographic style on anything and everything. So I do a lot of like mixed media. I'll do hides, even buffalo skulls, acrylic paintings, a lot of drawings, and I've been recently into gold leaf and a lot of black ink.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and I'm also on a tattoo journey doing ledger style tattoos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet that gets popular.
Could that
sounds
not
really
be one of the
cool.
coolest podcast episodes ever? We
Ooh.
just record and John could do a tattoo
John's putting a tattoo on someone.
on
Yeah.
a lucky
There you go.
person.
Maybe I'll do a tattoo at Western Art Week.
There you go.
There we go.
That would be a whole new. I doubt
the
they
booth will
have
be
that.
lined up.
Yeah. There
People
you
will be
go.
wrapped around the corner.
No, but I started tattoo journey about 2 years ago. Haven't really pursued it, and recently start shadowing again and doing it. And so hopefully by January, I'm actually doing it. Right now, I'm just doing like the fake tattoo skins and oranges and grapefruits, trying to get my line work down and shading. And,
Yeah.
And I'll probably start practicing on a few cousins soon.
Watch out.
Well, I'm
Lewis
sure you could have
volunteered, he
some
told me.
volunteer folks and be like, "Yeah, he doesn't look real good right now, but I've seen his
Telling
other
you,
stuff and
Western
it looks
Art
all
Week
right."
is where you
so.
can make it happen. Exactly. I like that.
Now, when we talk about ledger art, it looks like it's on an actual like old-timey bookkeeping ledger.
Yes,
Is that true? Like, do you
Or-
guys
Yeah.
have just
Or- yeah.
stacks of books you're pulling pages out of? And
well, it's done on antique documents. It could be antique ledger paper from banks, schools, or counties. Western Union telegraphs, music sheets, antique canceled checks, maps, and for some reason there's a lot of ledger paper from Montana, Butte, and also some of the older towns that by Butte, like the
Walkerville
like,
and
I can't think of like Pony, Montana,
okay,
Yeah.
and that old town where they have like make the candy.
Phillipsburg.
Yes.
Those areas.
Mhm.
There's a lot of ledger paper from there. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah, like stacks. So I got a lot. I got books, and like one book I have is like 1,000 sheets.
Oh wow,
That's good. I was going to say at some point you run out of those, right?
Yeah, I would think
I
it
don't
would
think-
be hard.
I don't think it will run out in my time because you could go in antique stores here, Kalispell,
Oh.
over Montana, and dig
Oh.
and find all this stuff. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
It just seems to me when I look at it, it looks like history upon history.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's two forms of history colliding together.
I really like it. The ones on the maps and the musical sheets are my favorites. Just a side note.
Thanks for sharing,
yeah,
Shannon.
You're welcome. Yeah. Just putting that out there. I want to talk about the exhibit you are both I guess not currently working on, but both recently
Featured in.
completed. That is up at Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art. I got to go when they were in the process of putting this exhibit together, and I'll be sharing some of that video.
You have a really
on our
cool
page.
job.
I do have a cool job. Get to hang out with these guys, see the process happening. The exhibit is called Within. This is something you both worked with the Square to develop. Louis, you're the designer of this exhibit, correct? Tell me first, the name is Within. Why? What does that name mean for this exhibit?
Well, it was a collaborative effort. Me and John put in a lot of time and energy, and whenever we approach something, we always try to step outside of kind of normal tropes of what art is, and try to be expressive and design or compose things that are, kind of outside the boundaries of the space itself, because it seems to be more engaging. And I think when we use the, our cultural references with the colorful aspects of it, I think it's kind of stepping out in really pushing that contemporary and native art theme, and we're trying to create something that hasn't been done before. And we could have just came in and just threw art on the walls and but we wanted to do something creative and really step out of that and engage with the viewer and give them an experience that was something they wouldn't normally get her in this area. They'd have to go to some big,
Fancy place.
New York or Los Angeles, and they have all this funding and budgets, and they have 30-foot ceilings. It's we're trying to use what we have, but we're trying to make a statement for our people and indigenous art itself. I mean, some people don't like saying that, native art, indigenous art, or you just an artist, or you're a native artist. So there's all these kind of labels, but the type of work that me and John do, we try to step out of that. We're trying to create something that hasn't never been done before, and we're really laying pathways for the next generation, because they're watching us and they see the things that we're doing on social media, and it's trying to really focus on pushing people's imaginations, not just for the Great Falls community, but also our own community. We really want to show and represent our people. We're like ambassadors for our people, and we're trying to do that in a good way. But I think with the show at the Paris Gibson, it was a great opportunity. I mean, we usually don't get to just paint the walls and change things up. It's
And John, when I met with you, you were in the process of painting the walls. So to give people an idea, Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art is a big, beautiful, old historic building in Great Falls, a contemporary art museum. You walk up the stairs to the second floor, and basically you all got to take over that big space, and then also a side room off of that. John, when I walk in, I was just struck by the vibrancy of the colors on the wall. I didn't even get to see the finished product of that yet. But talk a little bit about what you were able to do in that space and why it's different, because you kind of layered. It wasn't only the wall you painted, like Louis said, but then you painted the wall and then you added your work on top of that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So with the title, and then with the curator, and with Louis, and the title is Within, and we had to basically dig deep within ourselves and our community, and kind of think outside the box. And I had to dig outside the box a little bit, because it wasn't used to what I was usually doing. And so a lot of the colors you see in the murals are within our own artwork. Our individual work is truly based off of our community as Blackfoot people, our beadwork, our teepees, our rawhide work, our designs. And so you'll see that incorporated into this installation. So it's an installation of murals in our original artwork. I also even have a buffalo hide, and I started that hide back in June, and I finished it at the museum. Let people in classes watch me work on it, and it was a great experience. We worked on it with tons of people, tons of questions, and it was a great experience, because Not many times as Indigenous people or Blackfeet people are we offered a space to take over and do our own thing. Usually there's rules by institutions or places that we have to follow. So we got to bend the rules, and you'll see that. And it's a truly unique exhibition that was only supposed to run till like I think January, but they got extended till March. So we'll be here for Western Art Week, which is a great addition for Western Art Week. So it's a good art show to make a presence in Great Falls, to let people know that Great Falls is a place for art. Also, as Indigenous people, there are so many Indigenous communities here in this area. And it's originally Blackfoot territory, but it's 2023, and there's all kinds of Indigenous people here from all over. And so, as an artist, I represent my community. We got people in my community looking up to us. So it's like basically a message for everybody and anyone saying, "Hey, I'm just like you. You could do this too." And also, almost like as an artist, like when I started artist, I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want people watching me. But as I'm older now, it's like we're ambassadors for our tribal people and Montana. So I probably represent Montana in the art world. Yeah.
And you let me come stick a camera in your face and record you. When I believe I asked both of you this question when I did the interview with you. You talk about how this is telling a story. You're ambassadors. You're telling a story. You dig deep to show your culture. Something, John, that you had told me is that one of the things you want people to take away from it is that you want people to know you're still here, you're thriving, you're living, you're healing. Talk to me a little bit more about that, what you want people to take away from that, what this story represents.
Well, like even in Montana and Great Falls sometimes, and growing up in a rural area and have to come here to get groceries or see the movie theater or Walmart or anything, because it's pretty desolate and rural in Montana. So there's all the stereotypes about us as Indigenous people of who we are and what we're capable of. So coming here and showing people that we're more than these stereotypes, that we are alive and that we are in modern times, that we do have electricity and running water and education, and we're just like anybody else. And the reason why I say that, because in museums too, I have a museum background, and museums all across the world in America, sometimes as Indigenous people, we're displayed as a forgotten people, and we're only displayed to a limited era where people do think that we don't exist. So when people meet me from like New York City or California, they're like, "Oh, you're a real Indian? I didn't know you guys are still alive."
Oh, my goodness.
Or you guys still live in teepee. So these are some of the just common issues that we face as Indigenous artists anywhere. Like we did an art show in Jackson, Wyoming, and there's just so much crazy questions like that. It just gets used to, like, I don't get upset or offended. I guess I just help try to educate to the world that we are here. Yeah, we are people. You know?
But if you do think of that, we were just down in a museum in Cody, Wyoming, which isn't that far away, and every exhibit that was about the native people of that area was like frozen in time. There was nothing current. It was all frozen in time. And if I think back at the places I've gone, there's a lot of that. Nothing happened past past this time, and that's really not the case.
So just to add really quick in there, so it's great that the Paris Gibson allowed us and opened up the space to allow us to take control and tell our own story, because as you see, a lot of people tell stories of who we are, but I'm glad that we get the opportunity to tell the world of who we are. And you're right, you go to a lot of these institution museums and it's just like stuck at a certain point and it never shows like progress.
That's a really interesting perspective too, especially living here. I don't think about those things, because I remember I was struck with that. I was like, wow, do people not think you're here anymore? And so it's good to hear that perspective, to get out of my own head that there are those perceptions still.
But I think it's also, and we've said this on the podcast many times, every time kind of this topic comes up, there isn't a space in Great Falls that tells the Indigenous story from the Indigenous with the Indigenous voice. Like it's in parts of various things throughout the community, but there's not one place within Great Falls. And having such rich history of our community connected to the Blackfeet is just amazing that there isn't more of that story told, not from our perspective or someone else's perspective, but from your own voice, which kudos to Square. I mean, we've had them on the podcast, and Sarah has just been amazing with what she's done there and how open she is to all the ideas that come up. So I'm looking forward to more exhibits that you guys will come up with.
Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah. I mean, you're just sitting around painting. Just think of the next thing.
Louis, what is it that you hope people take away or experience when they go to Within?
Just, kind of getting like a window into what, Native art is, and really try to engage with it and have an open mind, and hopefully it kind of creates a spark where they want to learn more about the culture, or me and John, or individual works, or just the culture itself. And there's so much more like documentations and history and writings about Blackfeet that they can reach out and just do their own research.
I don't mean to disturb you, but there was a ladybug on you.
So now I've heard stories like ladybugs are supposed to be magical if they land on you.
John,
now
lucky.
I'm not going to discredit that, but the number of bugs that actually exist in this building is fairly impressive.
I have yet to see a ladybug, though.
Oh, I see them all the time
do you?
on the windows.
I love ladybugs.
Yeah.
Here, come hang out over here.
So the things that happen in the podcast studio, usually
Louis
it's
is talking, and I look over and John's like, got a bug.
Yeah,
ladybug
it's like
on him.
rain on your wedding day. It's all supposed to be good, amazing things will come for you.
There you go.
That's the ladybug
Got the
story
ladybug,
that I
yeah.
remember and I'm going forward with.
There you go. Oh, my little friend on my paper here.
There we go.
Okay. Anyway, getting us back on track. So so we walk up on the second floor, you see all that space. And there's also, if you turn to the right, a room to the right, where you both have work in there, correct? You were working on a sculpture when I was there. There was kind of the base for it when I was there. It was like a mountain, correct, that you were working on?
Yeah. I wanted to take like the symbols that we were painting and try to embody them in a physical form, and like, really engage the viewer so they can, kind of move around it, move in the space, and almost like kind of projecting it as they're moving in the space with the other works that are in the space itself. And we were offered that to use it, and we originally weren't going to use it, but I thought it'd be cool to, add a sculptural element to it. And eventually I'd like to do some stone pieces of that, actually.
That'd be really neat.
Yeah.
One of the other pieces you were working on when I was there was a painting of a woman that reflected the boarding school era. And you were talking just some about the history in that. And I remember it was in progress at the time. I was really drawn to her eyes and her expression in there. And you were telling me kind of the inspiration behind her. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that?
Oh.
I think there was a...
The bug disappeared. Sorry.
Could we stay focused, please?
I'm sorry. I was like, I looked down and the bug's gone. Okay.
John will get you another one here shortly.
But it was just I wanted to do a commentary on, and the whole theme and the title Within was kind of based around humanities, and how like I wanted to talk about the transition of knowledge, and how like the traditional educational system was interrupted by boarding schools, and a lot of that was language, food systems, medicines, and a lot of that knowledge was affected by children going to boarding schools and not learning what they needed to, or maybe they had a chance to learn some of it, but they couldn't practice it after that, while they're at the boarding school, they couldn't speak their language. So like a lot of the commentaries based around that, and how it greatly affected our culture, our language, our spirituality, our medicines, our food systems, they weren't allowed to hunt anymore. It was highly regulated, and it was a kind of a part of history that we still hear. Oral stories from our elders. Some of them went to those schools
because it really wasn't that long ago.
No, it was less than 100 years ago. I
mean, it's current.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about.
I mean, it's also like a history that's not really talked about or acknowledged by the U.S. government either. And now kind of acknowledged because when Deb Haaland got in there as the Secretary of the Interior, she's the first Indigenous person and woman to be. She started a boarding school. I forgot the title, like I don't know, like a commission or board or something. I can't forget the title, but they've been looking into investigating all the boarding schools in the United States about unmarked graves and stuff like that. So with one of Lewis's pieces that he painted was a boy that we as a Blackfoot tribe finally got his remains back and just buried him about 2 weeks ago from Carlisle Indian School, which was in Pennsylvania. Kept his remains for like over 100 years, and so they gave the army finally gave his remains back and a few other remains back, and the families of this boy's remains in Browning area finally got to bury him and give him a proper burial for I don't know, over 100 years, maybe even more. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one of Lewis's paintings is actually that boy. Yeah.
Is the boy related to the woman?
No.
Okay.
No, the image was from the, I think it was the Cut Bank boarding school. There were multiple on the reservation, but it was just an image of some girls in a sewing room. It looked like the girl was sewing like a wool coat or hemming it or something. But I just loved that she was like the photography was like the focus of the image itself, because she's the only one looking right at the photographer.
Oh.
But it was a great composition, and I liked her pose. It was kind of similar to more of a portrait. I do a lot of portraits, but I usually base them off of like a composition, what I want the image to look like on the canvas itself. But it was just like a normal day. They were just like in the sewing room, just making stuff or whatever. But I definitely wanted the images for those pieces to be of Blackfeet children. There are, if you do look at the history of boarding schools, they're all over the continent, really. They're everywhere. And the history, I mean...
And they weren't tribe specific. They were like... Everybody was together.
Well, there was different kinds. There was Catholic-run boarding schools, there was government-run boarding schools, and there was industrial schools. So there was different categories. And we're only talking about United States because as Blackfoot people, we're also talking about residential schools in Canada that didn't stop till the 60s and 70s, that they're still going through issues up there that they're trying to figure out. So it's a dark history. A lot of people don't like to acknowledge. There was boarding schools and schools everywhere. One popular school that was nearby here that was big in those days is called Fort Shaw.
Yeah,
and a lot of Blackfoot people there went there, and their women's basketball team was world champions, and there was Blackfeet women on that team. So I think a few years ago they were finally acknowledged as world champions as a basketball team.
Wow.
So there's all these boarding schools. Some are shut down. Some are still going, but they ain't the harsh boarding schools that our grandparents, our great-grandparents went through. There's still boarding schools, and yes, they're still like government ran, and different tribes go there. So a lot of these boarding schools, one dark factor about some of these issues was with our grandparents or great-grandparents is they were stolen too by the Indian agents on the reservation and forced to go. Because at the time they forced assimilation with language and everything. So just wanted to add that in there. But as you could tell, the topics we were talking about and everything related to the exhibit at the Paris Gibson within, you could see, and whoever goes to the show, they'll see all kinds of topics uncovered and probably get all kinds of emotions. A lot of people have already expressed different emotions they felt, presence, sounds, everything. So it's a true unique experience, and if you haven't had a chance to go there, I would go there.
And you have, it seems like a long time, but it's not. You only have until March
Right.
to experience this.
I'm really excited it's going to be up for Western Art Week. I think that's a really, really important addition to include in Western Art Week.
Well, and I think the other really important thing is these are big, heavy, dark, awful topics, but they need to be talked about and they need to be experienced so that we can learn, so that we can understand, so we can not let these things happen again, but then try to make things better. Whatever that.
So it's
better's not the right word.
Well, it's all part of healing, and art heals. Art is healing. So as an artist, it's like art for me. Like art is art therapy and helping reaching people through art and teaching people through art and healing through art. So with this exhibit, it's also a teaching tool for non-Indigenous people, and it's great to come together, especially in Great Falls. That's why it's so unique. A lot of people don't realize what they have here, especially with the murals. These are internationally recognized murals. The one mural with the eyes, I think, placed first or second in the world.
It was in among some of the top in the world last year.
And I think some people don't realize what they have here, and then within is a truly one of a kind exhibit that I think other people are going to start taking notice to.
I always think it's, I'll use the word creepy when you like the eye painting, or you see a image of someone in a painting done by somebody and you can feel the emotion, or you can feel some connection through those eyes or through that image. And I'm like, it's like they're staring into your soul, and it's like it's alive. The artwork itself is alive. And that my husband walked by a piece a couple years ago at Western Art Week, and he just fell in love with this picture, this watercolor of a woman in a field. And he goes, I love her. And I'm like, okay. It's nothing like he's ever looked at before. He's like the elk guy or the wildlife thing. And he's just standing there entranced with this watercolor woman. He goes, I think I want her in our house. I'm like, I'm feeling just a little uncomfortable about this whole thing. And so I just smiled and I'm like, okay, like it's a beautiful piece of artwork. I said, where do you want to put her? And he goes, I don't know. I'm just hoping he says somewhere normal, like the living room or the office.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I can't. No. And then he walk away, and then he walk back to her.
Yeah.
So it's really impressive what art can do to your emotions. Or, you know, we've all seen the scary movies where the eyes in the painting follow you. Sometimes that happens, and it's not a scary movie.
Yeah. As we were talking a moment ago, you've both talked about how you're ambassadors for your people, for your artwork, for your stories. That seems like a heavy. Does that feel heavy sometimes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You know, Blackfeet people were very proud of who we are and where we come from. The places where we live. It's beautiful, and we take pride in that. And we take pride in our culture. And I think we're not only just representing the Blackfeet, we're representing the whole Blackfoot Confederacy. So like, it's kind of the way we're raised. We're supposed to be, just good people and try to represent our families, represent our town, our communities. And you want to do that like with positivity. And I think the way me and John do it's with a kind of a more of a visual aspect of that. And I think it's we're taking our talents, our natural abilities, and we're trying to convey the things that we could be out there just drawing like dead things or
it sells mountains and dead things.
Yeah.
Or like broken down res cars and like, res dogs or like a cloud over everything.
It's funny you say that. I have 2 paintings on my wall of broken down cars. It's pretty popular.
She would buy them. Yeah.
But I always use the term positive visual reinforcement, and I think it can be applied to anything really.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we should dig into just lightly, the difference between Blackfeet tribe, the Blackfeet reservation, and the Blackfeet Confederacy. We've said it a few times here, so can you clarify that?
I'll give you an example. When I was in South Dakota, I used to go firefighting, and I would have to dispatch out of a town that was like an hour and a half away, which was Eagle Butte. I wanted to go through a reservation, and I was like the nearest one. And they were going all over, like Idaho, Washington. I was like, all right, that's good money. I'm going to do that. So we're in a dispatch over in Idaho, and we're in the camp, and they're like, we're doing stuff like, I think I needed Band-Aids or something. So I go in this tent, and then this guy's like, so are you guys Cheyenne? And I was like, no, these are Lakotas. They're from a geographical location called the Cheyenne River that has nothing to do with. So we're talking about. See, this is the confusion. People get geographical areas mixed up with the actual people themselves. Okay, they're basically like it's Eagle Butte, South Dakota. They're Sioux, and people were getting the Cheyenne River. That's what it was. The Cheyenne River firefighters, the geographical location, which is right next to the town. So those types of generalizations, or people just assume, that's what they are. There's the same thing with the Blackfoot Confederacy. It all comes from what Lewis and Clark saw, or what people would call them. We call ourselves Pekuni, which is in our language, and that's how we identify ourselves, because that's our first language. The Confederacy itself is multiple bands. Each one has their own cultural language that they identify with.
Okay.
So, we're a part of it, but we're Pekuni. And when they drew the High Line, they cut us off from our cousins. So,
that's handy.
If it was a couple hundred miles south of us, we would actually be Canadian. So, see, the confusion is generalizations and getting geographical areas mixed. Because there's actually a place down in Idaho. It's called Blackfoot.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's something going on down in Louisiana. There was a clan that was called Blackfoot. They had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So when they come into an area Blackfoot, Blackfeet, and it's really confusing.
Yeah.
That's why we use the terms of our own language, our first language, to identify ourselves, because we're self-proclaiming our identity by doing that. So nowadays you'll see these tribes that are identifying themselves through their traditional language.
So I think that helps keep it a little clearer.
So back to the earlier question, when I started doing art, I didn't know what I was doing or anything, and then I didn't think I wanted to be a role model or an ambassador or represent my community or nothing like that. I had to learn to accept those titles and to be called on by people to actually do the work like that. Sometimes I get called on for tough issues, or even activism issues, and I don't consider myself an activist, but I have done artwork to help participate in some of those things that were going on at the time. And then back to Blackfoot and Blackfeet, everybody gets confused, not just in Montana, everywhere. So in Montana, we're the Blackfeet Nation, but we're part of the Blackfoot Confederacy, and there's 4 bands. There's Pekuni. So there's basically 2 Pekuni, and there's actually only one. The Canadian border split the Pekuni in half. So now you get Southern Pekuni and Northern Pekuni, but we don't call ourselves that. We just call ourselves Pekuni. And then there's Siksika, and there's Kainai, and we're the Blackfoot Confederacy. We all speak the same language, share the same ceremonies and customs, but we're all independent bands and came together
Okay.
for ceremonies and stuff like that. But we're scattered throughout, so we have all these locations that we know by heart through our language. Even down here in Great Falls, we have all these locations and spots that we are familiar with and talk about and know about, where we camped or where we hunted or where we had a battle. And so with that, I always tell people, not every Blackfeet is Blackfoot, but not every Blackfoot is Blackfeet. If that makes sense.
It does.
It does. Yeah. That's a good way to put it, though, or to keep in mind for try to help and our brains keep straight. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Help with that education.
Right.
We could complicate it more, but I don't think we don't have time for that.
You want to come back? We'll just do one episode of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As you were saying that, I would love to hear you tell us who you are in your native language, if you don't mind saying it, because obviously we introduced you in English,
our version.
Yes, but would you like to introduce yourself in your native language? You don't have to. I just thought it.
You can tell her no.
You can tell me no. Yeah,
and then we can edit the whole thing out.
It's like so. There's a lot of basic. So like for introduction, it'd be like it'd be like Okinapi Nitaniku. Then I would say my Blackfoot name.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be like Okinapi Nitaniku John. I'm saying hello, partner. My name is John.
Okay.
And so that's how some people kind of basically start basic conversations. Then there's all kinds of sayings, like everything that's like good. Say you ate something that's good, or a situation's good. It's a common slang that you might hear now, since I'm telling you, amongst Blackfeet people is sagapi. We all say sagapi. If it's really good, you say ixagapi, really good. And so there's all kinds of sayings for, and then how we say ourselves is pakani. But how we say Blackfoot people, as all of our bands together, we call ourselves Nitsitipi, translates to real people. We also call everybody human beings Nitsitipi. That's just like the real people. And if you see a lot of languages and people, indigenous people in their language, they all translates to something real or some kind of people or human being or something. Yeah.
I've seen that word before, and I never knew what it was. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember where I've seen it. Because it's written on a sign somewhere.
Or it's a flag. It has all the bands on it. But it shows like the Confederacy, and that's how we say like all of the people, the Blackfoot people.
And that's one of the things. Hey, the ladybug's back. Where did she come from? That's one of the things.
The most distracting thing of a podcast ever.
She's suddenly back. One of the things, if I remember correctly, that you and I talked about, Louis, was just language and that being passed down or being taught, and some of that has been scaled back or has died off a little bit, but the importance of kind of the oral tradition through language.
Well, the oral traditions were always there. It was, I think, the boarding school area that kind of really affected that, because it was almost like, and I've had this discussion before, and it's like, I mean, we have opportunities to really dive in and learn the language, but like traditionally you would learn it from your parents and your family and your grandparents, but like the kids that came out of the boarding school area, it was almost like it was just like shameful or like forbidden, and like they thought that the younger generations would be ostracized from society because they knew their language or spoke their language, and it was something like they didn't want them to go through the trauma they went through, so that it's like they kind of held back, but they would speak it amongst themselves, and sometimes they would teach songs and they would teach some of the language, but like it, for the most part, what I've heard, it was like it was kind of kept from them, but they could understand words just because they learned them by just through time. I mean, they could understand it, but it was really hard for them to contextualize it, because a lot of it, like John said, it's like certain situations you would say a certain word, but like, and it has to be, you have to live it. You have to live the language. You have to be with it like every day. And it's a really hard language to learn, But I think if you keep on with it, like you have to do it every day.
Practice it.
Yeah, it's like,
So,
but like, you know, having to deal with that trauma from the past generations, and then growing up on the reservation, you're like, well, why is that? And you start asking questions, and you start asking elders, and like, it's really complicated. Like,
Yeah.
So, like in the 90s, it did come to a certain point for our community in Browning too, where we were losing a lot of our original language keepers and knowledge keepers, and an individual by the name of Daryl Kipp, who was also a Harvard graduate and spoke our language fluently, studied our language well, and started the Blackfoot immersion school in Browning that's called Cutswood, where goes to 8th grade and there's no English allowed. Math, science, astrology, astronomy, language. Had family members go through there. And growing up, me personally, my grandfather spoke fluently. My on the other family side, my grandparents spoke fluently. I don't speak fluently, but I have an understanding. I'm trying to learn. Like Louis said, you gotta learn certain things every day: colors, words, water, everything. And you start picking up phrases, but I have a well understanding, especially growing up. I knew when my grandma was talking about me, saying, "Oh, these kids are pitiful. Their parents just dropped them off here." But in our language, and then like I have an understanding. Like, okay, yeah, these people are talking about me, you know. But also to the schools, each school is different on a reservation. Some are in different counties and school districts, but
that's right.
and each have different programs, and so there's all these programs now where there's apps, there's our community college, there's people trying to revive it, there's the language associations in Montana with all the tribes coming together. There's a conference next week that I've been going to that happens every year, twice a year, with all the language speakers in Montana from all the tribes and all the people that live here, and they talk about how could we come together to make it better understanding. So it's been a learning experience. I've been trying to be part of it much as I can, because someday I hope to be speaking more. So I always ask questions. There are people that speak our language, so our language gets complicated because there's a couple languages. Like there's two versions. Like there's an older Blackfeet and there's a newer Blackfeet. So yeah, so there's several words for different things. Some might mean similar things. Yeah.
That's very challenging.
Yeah.
It sounds like to learn. Yes.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you to come and, just be fully immersed and just do the entire podcast
We'll
episode
just let you go.
in your
Yeah.
language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We'll we'll ask questions. It'll just be a question answer. There won't be any
Any
follow-up.
interaction. Yeah.
And then we'll just keep listening to go
I mean-
I think he meant this.
I mean, what's I think's crazy, or it's pretty awesome too. Like nowadays, like in our times, is like I got nephews and cousins that are like in elementary and middle school that are fluent, and so I'm
Oh, neat.
going to them
That's
for
awesome.
references.
Mm.
Are even almost testing them, and like, come on, what does this mean? You know?
Tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Or tell me what this means. Yeah, so it's actually to see that and learning because a lot of them are being taught from a young age, and there's more pride nowadays of who we are, because like boarding schools did have a major effect in identity issues. So a lot of that is being addressed as individual artists. Like me personally, all my artwork is based on identity, Blackfoot identity. Like when people say my artwork, they know it's Blackfoot, or they know where I'm from, And so, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Daryl, I found out he was actually one of my mentors. And before he started the emergent school, he had some other programs I was working with him in. And but years later, like just recently, I found out he actually had an art degree.
Really?
On top of multiple degrees.
Wow.
But, he was a really interesting man. I asked him one time, I was like, how come you always wear the same thing? He's like, well, I'll tell you what. A really smart man did the same thing. He only had like, he's like, I wear the same thing. I thought he wore the same clothes.
Like,
Why don't you ever change your clothes?
But he was telling me he has the same outfit, but he has like 10 of them. and he does clean them. But he said Albert Einstein did the same thing. He said, why spend 30 minutes every day trying to figure out what to wear when I just pull it off the shelf, put it on, and I could spend 30 minutes doing something else.
I tell you, I call it the cartoon character wardrobe, and I do have a dream of that.
It's probably what people think of me, because they
You're
probably think, they probably think, oh, that guy wears the same clothes. Like he's been wearing the same shirt for years.
Einstein. Yeah.
He doesn't smell bad. I wonder what the deal is.
But I don't know. My grandpa was like that too, and what he's talking about, like Daryl Kipp, it was like khakis and a blue shirt, like a sky blue shirt.
Or he had like a cardigan and like.
And my grandpa was like a I wasn't car. I don't know what it was, but like a tan, almost Carhartt
Okay.
kind of shirt every day with like Wranglers with pen stains right here.
Those were custom.
Complete with the stains.
Those are custom.
Art clothes, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Artist clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, free up your mind for the important stuff.
Yeah,
not,
there you go.
Not what you have to look like that day.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I like about being an artist in the art world. There's no rules of what you should create or how you should dress. Especially other artists, doesn't matter if you're native or not. If you go to these art openings, man, some artists don't dress like that.
Interesting choice. Yeah.
You didn't want to put on a clean pair of jeans for this?
Some will wear their painting clothes. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they painted on them
To show that they're legit. Like, hey, look, I actually did this.
I don't know if they painted them on purpose or if they're real painting clothes. Yeah. Some people will wear them for their art openings.
I'm gonna be paying attention to that now at Western Art Week.
Or you'll see that. Like, a lot of them ain't cowboys.
No. I was just going to say the things you see at Western Art Week are...
I'm not a cowboy, and I'm not going to dress up as a... I'm more of a hip-hop influenced, and I'm not, and people are probably looking at me like, why is this guy in the show with baggy pants and in this hip-hop influence artwork? They want the... that's why I like being here in Western Art Week and at the Within, because people have this generalization of how we should be and what we should create, especially in Western Art Week. And Western Art Week is Western artwork is such a big platform here in Montana that I've been using it to like make a presence. And people are always like, well, how can you do this show? How can you do that? It's like, because I choose to be there to make a presence of Blackfoot people and indigenous people to be included in there, because we should be able to take up space. So Paris Gibson allowed us to take up space.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and the Western art spectrum is so large. It's...
Yeah, we need to talk about that fee waiver. It's Blackfoot territory.
There you go. Exactly.
Should just get royalties for every mountain painted.
Absolutely. There you go.
One quick little joke.
Yeah.
I've heard amongst all kinds of artists, not just natives in Montana, they're like, it's a crazy joke. They say if you want a guaranteed sale in Montana, paint trout.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So I was like, I want to paint a trout or draw a trout, but I don't want to be like.
So now you got
Yeah.
Fisher going on your...
But I have.
You have a whole fish collection.
Done trout on ledger paper.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that.
I'm gonna start painting women in fields.
I'll have a whole room ready for you.
Yes.
We're clearing
Her
out one of the
husband will be
rooms to
there.
be a
Yeah.
gallery.
Women in fields. Maybe Rebecca should be your inspiration
No.
for it, and then you would be comfortable with Robert
No.
buying it.
The watercolor woman looked nothing like me. Nothing at all. And as I stood there and stared at it, it did start to look like a person I did know. And so
You're like, this is even weirder.
when I brought it to his attention, he goes, "Oh no, this is so wrong." And I'm like, "You see it too then?" He goes, "Do you think I'm secretly in love with this woman?" I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
But here's where I'm at. If you are, give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Why not?
You know, you're pretty enamored with this woman in the field. So do you, what, we've heard you're going to do stone, which I'm really excited about, because I don't think there's enough of that in the world at all. I love rocks. What other artwork are you looking at doing beyond those things?
The tattooing.
For both of you. Tattooing for John. What else is tripping your pleasure?
I'm actually looking at incorporating augmented reality into the murals,
Ooh.
or even like the individual pieces, and really pushing the interactive engagement.
Interesting.
So
That would be
like-
neat.
So like literally they just walk up and scan a QR code, and then it would just start the experience. Like,
That would be neat.
That's a really neat idea.
but
Yeah.
like I said, like bronze work, stone work, and I usually actually was a stone sculptor for 10 years, but I'm thinking about getting back into it and kind of maybe getting more into like public works or private commissions, stuff like that.
Well, the River's Edge Trail always needs some art.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay worth a crap, but from what I've
But
heard,
it's there.
yeah, it's a nice spot.
It's true. Well, anything for you, John?
I want to do one of these buffaloes that everybody has around here in Great Falls.
Aha.
No, I'm just teasing.
There is a desire for a lot of people to have these bison.
Yes.
So like we'll get calls random at the office and they're like, "Hey, how do I get one of them painted bison?" I'm like, "You missed the boat. Like 2005 is how you got one of those."
So there's a market there for you, though.
So if we bring it back, I know there's people who are ready to like bid on owning their own bison.
It's true. Yeah, we get questions.
So right now I'm just comfortable with having more time to work on what I want to do instead of what everybody else wants me to do.
Yeah.
And because teaching took up all my time, and I wanted to do a lot of things that I couldn't do, and I was very limited. So I wanted to. So right now I'm just focusing on creating more, but hopefully someday I could help maybe develop or start like a cultural center. That's a goal.
That would be really
Art
neat.
space,
Yeah.
or some kind of art space.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I lived in South Dakota, they had a like a tribal, the Lower Brill tribal buffalo herd,
Okay.
but they had a visitor center, and they had some of the tribal members would go there, and there was almost like a cultural center where people could visit and kind of experience, and it was like right on the edge of the boundaries of the buffalo range.
Okay.
So then they would actually come right up to the building, but I think something like that would be so cool on our reservation. And, like you said, there's no representation there, but we definitely need it where we're from.
Yeah.
But
I'm just going to put this out into the universe again. The more people who know of my desires, the better. We're looking to have a bison feature here in our office. Preferably a head-mounted bison. We have the perfect wall for it. So if you come across any moments in your life where you're like, who wanted a bison? So when you were talking about the artwork on the bison head, I started to just get giddy because I'm
I
like,
have one.
and that's what I said. I'm like,
And it's a really old.
if I can't get the mounted head, I'm gonna have some bison presence in this building.
It's a really old, like an ancient buffalo skull that was found on a reservation. I don't know how old, but it's a big one because I've also paint on the really old ones that are found from the old kill sites before European contact, like the First Peoples buffalo jump, like in that era, like. So people will find these skulls sometimes and sell them to me, and this one was almost a full intact one, the first time I ever seen one, and it's a huge one. So I painted on it, and I have it, and I'm just keeping it. But it's on display right now. But it's
Eventually
awesome.
gonna come for sale.
Yeah.
Well,
it is.
how
for
about me
sale.
say that? We'll display it here.
Yeah.
I mean,
While it's on sale, we'll display it. Yeah.
yeah. So there's so much storytelling that gets to be done around that, which I think is amazing. So just, build a cultural center. You can start at home and then you could do it here. I'm not picky. You can start here. You could do it at home next.
can we do it on the hill?
Yeah, I'll make that happen.
Sure.
There's a nice gazebo up there. You already got a little bit of a structure built.
There you go.
We'll just start expanding off of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good view.
It is. It is a really good view from up there.
Yeah. Certainly not a bad idea.
Mm-mm.
You could allow camping then if you wanted.
that lady would be happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take to do the exhibit? Because what I'm hearing is you guys were creating all the pieces at points throughout the installation.
It was about a couple weeks, and the mural was about a week, and then I had to create stuff, and I mean it's not a bad time frame, but like usually stuff you should start a year in advance.
Couple weeks, year, whatever. Yeah.
But you know what I mean, just planning, and like you should really
Thinking through.
Yeah, that's professionally you really should be doing. Giving
You
yourself
shouldn't throw something together in
get
2
a
weeks.
cushion in there.
Hey,
like,
sometimes opportunities present themselves. And you're like, yeah, I'll get something
gotta
together
do it,
for them.
yeah. There you go.
But we made it happen, and that's where that adaptability comes in. You just kind of have a timeline. Okay, we need to get this done, and then we did have a little cushion there, but
That's pretty quick though to put something together.
Usually when we do the murals, they're pretty fast.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
we actually we're contacted in August, but with some details, it wasn't a for sure thing yet,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of got moved forward after August. It kind of became a reality, and then they brought us here, and it was the first time me personally, because I work with a lot of museums and places with rules and contracts. So it was just really for my first show ever where you didn't have to follow, and you could just keep growing, and you didn't have to worry about museum rules and deadlines.
That sounds refreshing.
Yeah, and because a lot of museums are kind of strict,
Mm-hmm.
a certain way of being, and so this was very open and worked right with us. We worked with them, and everything grew daily. So it was an installation, but it was also with the curator every day. It was a dialogue, building dialogue, and it's still building with the events they're having, and that they're having artists there now. Next week they're having Sean Chandler, or how do you say his name?
Sean Chandler
there to discuss. I don't think I might be there because it's the holidays. I missed this last author there was there. Used our exhibit as our backdrop. And there's going to be other events there, so it's just a continuing. It's an installation, but it's also a dialogue, and it just keeps growing with people and events happening there, and with us and the curator. It's just something new every week, or over the email or phone, something.
And the square is probably the best bargain on planet Earth to experience art in. There's
It's free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your entrance fee has been covered by Farmers Union Insurance. That might be incorrect, but that's what I'm going with for right now.
No, I think it's a great space. Love the wood floor, the original the original building.
You can't sneak up on anybody in there.
No.
and their bat cave upstairs.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting through that. The first round of remediation has been done up there.
Yeah. There's a lot of ghost stories in that building too.
Oh,
I've never experienced anything there, but
For real?
a lot of people have stories there.
you were there for a long time. I thought for
Even
sure.
even at night.
Oh.
Well, I'm scarier than anything else. Here.
So they're like, oh, we saw Lewis.
No,
we're
yeah.
good. We're not doing anything with that perspective. No,
Yeah,
thank
I didn't
you.
really get any kind of feeling there.
Yeah.
I think I was just too busy.
Yeah. Too focused.
See,
Yeah.
So I think it's a great space. They've been working and collaborating with people from my community for years, and that's how I got introduced to them is through other artists. So this is, I think, my fourth exhibit there. I had a solo show there. I had a group show, which Lewis was part of before. I was part of a ledger show there with Monty Yellowbird, and now this. So and then I participated, I think, twice in their auction.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, any kids you're mentoring that we should put on our radar now as the next John and Lewis artists that are coming up from the ranks?
Well, my son's going to be going to school next year, preferably art school, but yeah, he's just decided that he wants to pursue art. So
Neat. And what's his name?
Adam's still smoking.
Okay.
So.
Is that a proud dad moment, or are you scared?
Well, I have 4 sons, so
At this point,
the other 3 don't really show much interest in art.
Okay.
But I think Adam, he actually painted one of the Montana Meth Project murals this summer and placed, and I think he really enjoyed that. I kind of facilitated, but I didn't really get in there and help him. But he took the reins and really, took control, and it was all his vision, and I just kind of helped him with, setting up things and kind of show him how to do it, and then he just did it. But yeah, he's an up and coming artist.
Good.
I'm sure you guys will hear about him later down the road.
yeah.
Is there a time where you have a dream of getting recruited into this Cameron Moberg traveling mural show and traveling all over the world and putting up murals in other locations? Have you slipped your card in his pocket and said, "Hey, I'm up for traveling"?
Yeah, he'll probably reach out. There's other festivals that he's keeping me in mind for, and I think I just need to do more on my own and kind of get out there. And but he's a really cool guy. He's anytime I have any kind of questions about anything, whether it's street art or the technical aspects, he's always willing to help. But he's a pretty cool guy. He usually keeps me in the loop about Art Fest, and yeah, I'm just waiting for him to reach out about other ones.
You got to do the artist. I shouldn't say you got to. You agreed to do the artist reception this year in the blazing heat. What was that a good experience? Was it awful?
Well, let's put it.
I mean, because it could go either way.
Yeah.
You've got people milling around, and you're like, "Gosh, give me some elbow room here."
Yeah, it was kind of bad timing because it was during that CM Russell thing in the summer.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a lot of people not in that location. But the day before, we did the downtown
Summer Jam
live paint thing. That was pretty successful, and I think I don't mind it. I paint fast anyway, but with spray paint, it's a little bit different. It's you don't have that. I love that contact, the physical contact of the canvas. You can hear it kind of grinding against your paintbrush as you move it on the surface. But with spray paint, it's a little bit different. But I'll tell you one thing: every time I put down a can of paint, it would get so hot from the asphalt. The heat would transfer into it.
Gosh.
Oh.
And then when I would spray, it would bubble up.
So melty.
Yeah, it was kind of affecting what I was doing, and
So you need to bring a cooler with you next time to
Pretty
set
much.
them down in.
pretty much.
You're going to hold these cans
Yeah.
while I paint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty fun though.
Would you travel around, John, to do any of those?
No. It was cool to do murals. To say I did it and done it, and I don't really have a desire where it's my thing. It was cool to do. I get asked sometimes, and I try to pass it on to the other people because of timing.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it was cool to do. It's a lot of work, but right now I got so much other things going on that I don't know if I'll be doing any murals soon. Pretty booked up for a while, which I'm pretty proud of because I've never been this busy in my life.
Awesome.
And so with everything that I do and happens, I try to share with my community. I'm not mentoring anybody right now or think of anybody that's on the come up because there's so many people in our community that's talented. So sometimes I'm invited to work with several of them and on different things and or speak about where I've been or what I've done. So I try to bring that back to them and share my experience and tell them that that they have the opportunity, they could do it too, and especially now with social media, everything keeps changing, art's changing, so it's just there's the possibility there for anybody.
Are you on all your social media daily doing videos and talking about your inspiration and
I don't do much videos. Sometimes I'll use TikTok for picture videos, but I don't know how that's gonna work out anymore after January 1st because Montana banned TikTok.
That's whole in the process right now. Yeah.
They reversed that.
Did they?
Yeah. That was just within the last day.
Yeah,
so
like yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that, but
Who knows what's happening?
well,
but
there
yeah.
you go. Now you can be a TikTok star.
I share a lot of my artwork on my social media, but just to share it and so I get hit with is it for sale? Am I gonna make a print? And me personally, I'm not the artist saying direct message me or this and that. I'm just sharing it, and because a lot of the time it's not for sale, it's already taken or it's for something.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to share it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's helpful for just to see it. I get excited. There's been a few. I follow a lot of artists because of Western Art Week. It's a hazard at the job. It's not really that bad.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. That's all my time right now is Western Art Week because it's
you got to build up your inventory.
It's December. There's all kinds of stuff to prepare for, and looking forward to it. I think it's going to be better for me than last year because there's so much anticipation from people that I get bombarded all the time over in emails and everything. So I'm just trying to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Are you going to be at the Out West show again this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'll probably be at the one at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start working on like some prints, maybe some screen prints, and kind of smaller works.
About February, since you paint fast.
No, I'm gonna be busy because I got other commissions I gotta work on.
So like a lot of people will think that artists live the dream, or it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's a job. Like
I
if
was
you don't
just
do
gonna
the work,
ask.
yeah.
I had a lady who used to make jewelry. She loved making jewelry, and she went into business making jewelry with a bead store. And so she'd make jewelry and then teach classes. And after 5 years in business, she's like, I'm done. This used to be fun for me. It was a creative outlet, and now it's a job. And I don't want to wake up every day and have to do something I once loved to do. So,
see, that's like one of my goals is like, it's a job and like a regular job, do the hard work. But at the same time, like I want to work hard to where I can enjoy creating my own stuff and not worry about bills or nothing.
Yeah.
Where I can do what I love, and I do love what I do, but a lot of people get this idea, especially for social media, that you're just gonna start selling or start. But it
make
takes
a couple pieces in your set.
It takes a lot of work and a lot of trial and error and nonstop learning. Like my grandfather was an artist, and he didn't stop learning till he passed. Yeah.
that's so true.
It's a lot of work, and sometimes you get into a piece and you're like, "Oh, that looks like crap."
Or you like a piece? Say you like a piece, but people don't like it, and you don't like a piece, but people love it.
Yeah.
No, it's weird like that. Your own, like I'm talking about like my own work.
Yeah.
Like I might not like a piece I did, but people love it. Then I might love a piece I did, but people don't like it.
Yeah, they come up to you and they're like, "That's amazing," and you're like,
"Really?
That's like trash."
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I interest you in this one? No? Okay. Yeah. That's the hard part, I bet, about it being a business is that you don't just get to be like, oh, I don't like that one. So,
for me personally,
that's why you're painting fish.
Yeah.
For me, business-wise, what's getting more complicated for me is like, I don't like emails, social media presence, like responding and replying, and then shipping. I'm really tired of shipping and packaging and.
Yeah.
And all this stuff to where I might need to hire a team and open a store.
Yeah.
Well, that way it just frees up your time to
create more.
Create more.
Yeah, that's where that passion comes into play, because then you kind of like fall back and like, why am I doing this? And like, you really have to have that passion. People are always like, well, how do you find the passion to do what you do? And it's like, you just got to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter how you feel in the morning. You got to do something. Like you can't do nothing that day. Like you got to be working. And the way I was taught was it doesn't matter what you do as long as your pencil's on the paper. You're doing something, and that's worthwhile. That's where the passion comes from, because you'll figure it out. The creativity comes later as you're working things out.
Or artists are really great procrastinators. They could get a commission and like have several weeks or months and not do nothing and then get it done in one day.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you have like scrap pieces, like pieces where you're halfway through and you're like, this is complete junk, I can't do anything with it, it just ends up in a corner?
Oh, all the time.
I think
have
eventually
stacks of canvases.
you could do the unfinished collection.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Just sell that.
Oh, they could sell those
Make
at
some
my
money.
funeral.
Yeah.
I was thinking before then.
Well, you can still get something out of it. Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy you asked that because I've gotten crazy questions by people like, do you have any stuff laying around we could use? I'm like, what?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I just
You
got,
want my scraps?
an entire warehouse full of stuff that I've not decided to sell
Right.
before.
Yeah.
Or it's always, can I see your studio? And it's like,
Private space like that's a huge request by people, especially like people from wherever. Can we come to your studio? I'm like, no, it's my personal space.
Yeah.
It's my privacy. Not yet, but that's a goal. I
Yeah,
know it's a
make
lot of
some
goal
money
for a lot
off
of
that,
artists.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
like a studio where people can come because people always want to come to.
man, I would
interview.
love to see Francis Bacon's studio.
Mm. You pay money for that. Yeah.
Like blobs of paint. And,
We did a special 2 or 3 years ago now where we highlighted a bunch of artists for a TV documentary show. And one of the things they had requested was to go to their studio. And so I would line up these artists and I'd call them. I'm like, so we'd like to feature you. They want to shoot at your studio. Is that something we could do, or do we need to set up like a space somewhere else? Like, because we partnered with the Russell Museum just to have a space, like if they didn't have a real studio that they wanted to showcase in a TV documentary, because that's got to be a little unnerving. And we ended up, they were all willing to open up their space, and some were like sheds, like, this is my studio, and they're like,
a lot of artist studios are just in their home on a
yep,
table,
in the living
on a
room.
desk, yeah, just
Yep.
wherever you can set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes when I travel, if I have time, I'll even set up in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it done where
If
you
I
can.
have
Yeah.
time. I bring my stuff, but I don't have time to
Yeah.
sit there and draw in a hotel. But sometimes I will have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the artists during Western Art Week, they'll paint while you're walking
Oh, yeah.
by. And I always think, man, that's got to be... I think if you zone in, it'd be fine. But I'd get
That'd be
distracted and be
real-
like,
yeah.
what am I doing here? And all of a sudden, my elephant would be matched with a sea lion. And like,
It's a whole new
Yeah.
art form. Yeah.
I got interrupted
that's,
here.
That's one thing I wanted to talk about was maybe I always wanted to do like a plein air event and like either host it or curate it and paint like Glacier National Park and then go to a local gallery and then have like a wet sale. But have like 30 artists do this,
Do that.
and then we all show up with our. And I used to do plein air, but like I specifically want to paint like Blackfeet country and the park, and then like have a wet sale. But like
That would be cool.
that was kind of like one of my goals when I moved back. I wanted to do that, but I've been talking to people. Some people are kind of interested, so I think it'd be cool just to get a collection of artists and just
See
go
there.
out and paint the wilderness and get chased by bears. And
Yeah. You'll have the experience story behind it. Yeah.
Use the berries from the bush to make your color. And
There you go.
years ago, we were at the Little Belt Mountains and we were riding our four-wheelers up a trail. And as we got closer to the top of the mountains where it was a little less open, there was a bunch of people along the road set up with their easels and they were just painting. And then we'd turn the corner and there'd be another set of people. I'm like, what is going on? This is like the weirdest experience I ever had. So about the fourth person we saw just set up alongside the road, we stopped and like, what's going on? Is there some type of weird artist commune happening here? And it was that same idea that they had this big art retreat and every day they got to paint in a different area of the Little Belt Mountains, and they just go for a hike and then set up and paint. I don't know if any of that artwork ever became available for sale, but it was really interesting to see when you weren't expecting to see people sitting alongside the road painting.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. It's, it's kind of like what they call guerrilla painting, where you're out in the, wild, just painting anything. But you're the one who's devising the composition and really deciding what to paint, where to paint,
and then the fear of getting attacked by a bear.
Yeah.
Paint fast.
Well, you can do like sketches and then go back to the hotel room and finish them.
I like that, survivor style
We
art
have
experience.
We have do you know Ron Ukrainets? He's an artist here. We have some pieces that he had done kind of plein air, and they were unframed. He was just telling me, a friend of ours, but they're
Very
like little
textured.
They're very textured because there's little gnats that
Oh,
had
yeah.
gotten in under the painting of that.
That's how you tell a plein air painting. There's bugs in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the impressionists that did plein air, you can see they have bugs in them if you look really close, because they're drawn to the paint itself.
Yeah.
Because of the smell. And
See, I told you the ladybug was a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. She knew what she was doing here.
I think I know the inspiration for John's next series.
The ladybug.
The ladybug.
He's not looking
It's
too
not
enthused about that.
I don't think it's going to sell real well. People will be like, "What's he doing with a ladybug?"
oh, he's thinking of some woman in a field.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
It's the new inspiration.
I'll find that picture.
Oh, I didn't hear the new thing is abstracts and flowers.
Oh, that's the trend.
I guess that's the trend.
I could do abstracts,
Abstracted flowers?
not
Just
just the
abstract.
abstracts. Well, we have an original abstract piece in our office that I won at a brewery, and it's really interesting because you can put it vertical, you can put it horizontal, and you just keep switching it, and it's a different piece of work every time. But that was done by Hunter Rivard. He was stationed here at Malmstrom, and he would do these paintings during the First Friday Art Walks. And I was lucky enough to be at the brewery where he was painting and bought a raffle ticket and got drawn to win the painting.
There
So
you go.
it's an original, sits here in the office.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Do you
what we do.
hop on new trends like that? Will you be doing abstract flowers now?
No.
Okay.
Man, that's exactly what I wanted to commission a new mural of.
I try to stay away from trends because it's kind of outside of what I normally do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you always see people do like Star Wars or like
Oh, yeah.
The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. And like,
That would be
whatever.
very out of character if you suddenly were
Yeah.
having Baby Yoda in your.
You could just hide them as an Easter egg in your next mural.
There you
or
go.
Have you guys heard of Baloney Baby?
No.
No,
What's this?
you haven't heard of Baloney Baby?
I'm not real in tune with what the kids do these days, but tell us more.
Oh, it's just this image of a baby with a piece of bologna on its face with eye holes in a mouth.
So, what it sounds like.
I did most recently see, this had to have been on TikTok, where parents were just throwing slices of cheese on their baby's face when they cried.
What?
Yeah.
John's shaking his. Have you seen that? Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them
It happened to him the other day.
For some reason, some of them stopped crying.
Well,
Yeah.
they're startled because they just
Well-
got hit in the face with cheese.
Think of it, John. You're sitting just at minding your own business, having an emotional day, and someone slaps a piece of cheese on your face. You're going to kind of take notice, like, what just happened here?
It does take you out of whatever state
It's
you were
what I'm
just
going to
in.
start doing at the office now. You look distracted and throw
Just
cheese
throw
at their
cheese at-
face.
I love cheese, so I'd be.
You'll
I'd
still
take
be
that.
shocked when it happens.
Well, you need to do it to Callie since I've been part of this conversation, so I know what's
Oh,
coming.
that's true. Well, you will not. You will never expect to be
That's
hit in
true.
the face with a piece of cheese.
That's true. Fair.
no matter
good
what
point.
the situation
Yeah.
is. I don't think so.
Yeah. Or baloney.
I think that's purposefully put. I mean, you took the time to cut the eye holes of the face hole. They can't breathe through their nose hole, but
We've really gone down
we've
a
gone full circle.
rabbit trail. Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Yes.
into our beautifully well-designed podcast studio to
With
share
ladybugs.
share the stories. If you want to see more bugs, we've got a really nice cubby hole underneath the stairs that accumulate a lot of them. Cleaning people come on Saturday. That's when it'll all get cleaned up. So we really appreciate you being here. We appreciate the amazing art that you share with the world. And we'll love to have you back if you ever want to spend time with us again. Some people do, some people don't. So until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy face here in Great Falls, we hope you're creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. See you soon.
We Are No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing dam town. Damn, that felt good.